I'm Victoria from Telopea Flowers. I supply the Shrine of Remembrance with sustainable wreaths for commemoration services. And today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple seasonal wreath from materials that you'll find just around your neighbourhood mostly, or you can easily pick up from your local florist at the moment. So we'll need some long lengths of grapevine that's just lost its leaves. Today we're going to make a wreath from bay leaves. So you need like a big bunch of these, and we're going to also use English box clippings as well. We're going to start by collecting some grapevines that have lost or almost lost their leaves. What you generally find is that the ones that you want to use are brown, and underneath there'll probably be some from last year that are grey. Don't want the grey ones because they'll snap. You want the brown ones that look dead but still actually have a lot of bend in them. So when you cut them, you don't necessarily need a lot, like a massive clump with your hands, but you need lengths because we're going to wrap them around and around to make the base of the wreath. So before we bunch them up into the wreath base, we wanted to take a few pieces out, which will just help to stabilize. So what will have happened probably when you've cut them is that you'll have all one length at one end. So we don't want that because we're going to be twining it all together. So we just put a few different lengths together. And then we just make a shape. Lovely organic form. We're just going to bring this end through. Maybe the longer pieces first. Might snap a little bit, it doesn't matter. Bring them through. Wrapping it. Poking the pieces in. Tuck the pieces in to stabilize it. So we'll just take them one at a time and thread them through. So once we've made the basic shape and we've tucked those pieces in, we're just going to secure it with the extras that we pulled out before. So we're just going to pass it through, whatever, and getting a bit caught halfway, and then just wrapping it around. Okay, so it's a nice good shape. What's that, about 30-35 centimeters? Make them bigger, make them smaller. Once we start attaching foliage, as you'll see, it'll start to come out quite a lot wider. So you'll get probably at least like another 10 or 15 centimeters this way, and also towards the center if you like, but let's just keep it simple. Now I bought this box from the market, and you can definitely go to your local florist and say, I want a bunch of box, and they can get that in for you, no problem. How we want to prep them is all to a fairly uniform size if you want your wreath to have a nice traditional uniform look. Of course, if you want something more sort of swishy and free, then you can do lots of different lengths. But today we'll just keep it simple and look at doing something quite traditional and around about the same lengths. So if you can see, that's about as long as my hand with a little bit at the top. That's about the size we're going to do. We want to make sure there is enough stem at the bottom for inserting into the wreath base. So as you can see, I'm keeping the tips here, cutting through the bottom there to create two pieces. So in that way I can use more of the stem that I have. So Bay leaves can be great, and they can also just be really ratty. And we've sort of got a bit of a mix here. They can be a bit diseased, so they can be a bit burnt. So just go through and just see for yourself what you're happy to keep. So we begin, and there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can go in tight all the way around, or we can just go nice and loose and just keep working around the circle. I think we'll do that today. This is sort of a more organic way to do it, and we can keep stepping back from it as it gets fuller to see where the gaps are and where we need to fill them in. So we're going to start by filling out the center just a little bit, and we do that by coming in from an angle through the side and just basically anchoring it in. There we go. Just starting on the inside to fill in the center a little bit, because you'll find that if you start on the top, it's harder to get inside with your pieces. So we start on the inside. Here we go, here's the finished product. We still have our little grape leaf flourish, which I left in because it's so sweet. Simple, it's quite monotone, so we have similar greens but different shapes. It's beautiful, but of course you can mix up your greens and your shapes, and that just gives you a different look. If you have a look at the back, you can see that it's just all woven in and nice and secure. That took probably an hour or so to make. Right now in Melbourne, a lot of the gum, like the flowering gums, have just finished their flowering, and you have some beautiful, beautiful gum nuts, beautiful green. They'll last a few days nicely out of water. You can tuck those in, particularly also these nice big gum leaves. There's lots of gum actually, and gum sort of behaves a bit differently depending on the kind of gum that you've got, but it's readily accessible. Who doesn't have a gum tree in their garden, or down by the train line? From the garden, you can use rosemary. Also, I have here some thyme from the garden. This is a good time of year to pick the thyme. It's quite long and woody, which means that you can stick the pieces in. This is a wattle here. Beautiful. It's a bit like box, the way that it's got the foliage all the way up the stem. That's really nice to use. Has nice little baubles on it at this time of year as well, before it flowers. Lycodendrons, beautiful, so beautiful. Strip the leaves off. Insert them at the end. And then lastly, something that I just wanted to mention of fresh materials is thriptamine. Now, as I understand it, this beautiful, beautiful plant is native to the Grampians, and you can buy it from florists at the moment. Go in and ask them to get you a couple of bunches. It's not expensive, and it goes beautifully in a wreath. You also might like to use some dried materials. I think a lot of people have dried flowers around the place. Of course, you've got the much beloved billy buttons. They look great. Beautiful Australian wheats. These are dried nigella or lavender mist from my garden. Statice, of course, that comes in lots of different colours. And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful straw flowers. So thanks so much for joining us here at the shrine today. I'm Victoria from Telopea Flowers. Have a go.